Hello, American Dream family. It's Bonnie Spindler, the Victorian specialist, and I'm here with the very final segment of this year. I really can't believe it. And as I look back with such gratitude of all of your likes and follows and how much feedback and positive comments that you've given me throughout the year, I wanted to do something for you. So for my final segment this year, we're going to go to a Postcard Row House, and we are going to watch a chamber orchestra play in the living room just as they would have at the turn of the century. You have to think that this is a time with before electricity, before electronic music of any kind, before radios, before electric light bulbs, before anything. And so this will be very much as it would have been. It's easy to imagine what it would have been like at the turn of the century. So thank you so much for tagging along this year. I'm very excited about next year's segments and programming. And again, thank you so much for the support.
Hello everybody, my name is George Horsfall. This is my home. We'd like to welcome you here. About a month ago, I went to a concert down the hill at Jim and Gail's Fisk House and was absolutely blown out of the water hearing music being performed the way it was intended to be performed in a small setting like this. So the way immediately Gail asked me if we would do this here, and I was like blown over the idea of it. For many, many years, my mother, Catherine, used this house for different arts groups. So, for example, like Broadway shows, when they came to town, we would have them over here for parties, breakfasts, music nights. She and I produced and directed a number of shows at the Plush Room downtown, at the Kensington Park, and at the York Hotel. So this just feels like kind of a new chapter for this house of this kind of music. So I really hope you enjoy yourselves tonight, and thank you so much for being here.
My name is Erickson Hatfield. This is Leo Freud, and this is Jason Kim. We are part of the Insight Chamber Players. We are a relatively new group in San Francisco, and we are here to bring you a beautiful night of music. We are going to start with some Shostakovich, and then we're going to play a game revolving around how to understand Bach's music, which is very complex music, and then we're going to have an intermission. We're going to have some modern music. Just some house rules. When you take video recordings, please ask for permission before sharing them, because it's very important to musicians that they control how their art is shared. Also, please refrain from flash photography. That's very important because it actually is very bright to us. We can't see our own music. And then, was there anything else? All right, enjoy. All right, so we are the Insight Chamber Players, and the reason why we call ourselves that is that our philosophy is that the root of all love is the desire to be understood. And that if you understand something a little bit deeper about music, your passion and love for it will increase. You will love it a lot more. Music is very sophisticated. Oftentimes we throw it at you guys, and it does take an education to understand it. So often what we're doing is we're presenting Hamlet to people who have never read literature or have read very complex literature before. But we promise you that if you could just get a little bit of insight into it, your understanding of it will be much more enjoyable. So for one of these presentations, we're going to present on Bach. Bach by many was considered the greatest musician of all time. He was known for writing very complex music. He's known for a certain technique called counterpoint. And oftentimes whenever we listen to Bach, it's just this wash of sound, and we know it's supposed to sound good, but we don't really understand what's going on there. So I think to understand a little bit more, we can begin with what he did on a day-to-day basis. So back then, things were much tougher. He had to write about an hour of music every week. All right. Usually, so I did my master's in composition, they tell us if you can write 15 minutes of music in 1 month, you're pretty good. They had to write 1 hour of music every week back then. And that's how much more advanced their technique was. That was just the demands of it. So what would happen is he worked for the church, he got Mondays off, and then the priest would come up to him on Tuesday and say, we're going to talk about this week. I want you to write a whole hour of music about it. So then he'd wake up, and he'd have Tuesday and Wednesday to work on it. Then Thursday they had to copy it out. They didn't have scanners, they had to copy it out by hand. One of my favorite stories is that if you look at his manuscripts, there's lots of ink splatters all over them. He was not a nice guy, he'd always hit the hands of the people who copied things wrong. So there's ink splatters all over his music. So you get Thursdays to copy things out, and then Fridays you run rehearsals. And he never got good musicians, he was always very frustrated. Fun trivia fact, he's the only composer I know of who actually was put in jail. The reason why he was put in jail is because he tried to quit his job because he hated working with the musicians so much. And they wanted him to work there, and they said, you're going to work there, we're going to put you in jail. And then Saturday, something either magically comes together or it just never happens. Sunday they perform it, he gets Mondays off, and he returns back to doing this again. It does this all year long, Fun things about his contract, it did include like a barrel of wine every week. He got it was a barrel of beer. He got like a barrel of beer, like a whole thing of bread. He got a room in the church where he was allowed to live, and he got an assistant. So, you got paid something. So, what did he do on Tuesday? That's my question. What did he do on Tuesday? So, he got the letter from the priest saying we're going to talk about this. He wakes up, he goes to the organ, and he comes up with some ideas, and he scratches it out. It takes him about 15 minutes. And what does he do after that? You'd think he sits by that organ all day. No. He actually gets up, and he goes down the street, and he drinks more beer and has coffee. He loved coffee. He used to have beer and coffee in the morning, both of those things. He had it at a cafe called Cafe Zimmermann. It's a cafe in Leipzig. It was destroyed in World War II, but he used to sit in that cafe all day, and about late afternoon, he'd come back, and at that cafe, he wrote most of his music down. He did all the composing. And then when he come back, he'd check it. And that's how he wrote most of his music. And today we're going to look at it. Just one more thing about composition. The word to compose means to assemble. It does not mean to invent. So always remember that. It does not mean to invent. So we're going to play the opening of this. This is a piece that he wrote for 2 violins. 2 violins and orchestra. But our orchestra today is Jason. And we're going to play the opening of this, and we're going to break it down for you. So we're just going to play, and we're going to see if you understand it at first glance, and hopefully you don't, so we have something to present on. All right, ready? first heard that, I said, oh, that sounds nice for like the first few seconds, but after that, it goes on for like that for like another 15 minutes. Right? And I did not like it. You know, I listened and I was like, I don't know what's going on here. But let's see how he actually constructed it and see if we can enjoy it a little bit more. So he took this idea, and the idea goes like this. He didn't even come up with this idea. That's a stock idea from that era. It's like a stock image. Just use that. All right, and then he ornamented it. So I'm going to play this theme. Now you can hear the ornamented theme. Leah's going to play that. So you see how he took that very simple idea and turned it into this complex ornamented idea. All right, now many of you might have had cards when you sat down. You should have different colored cards. Those are relevant now. Don't lose yours. What are the 3 colors we have today?
Orange, yellow, and green.
All right, green. Hold up your green card. You have a green card. Hold it up high. Yep. You have to participate. I can see all of you, so I know if you don't participate. I can see all of you very clearly. Okay, cool. We don't have any green cards over here. Okay, cool.
In the back.
So this is going to be called the green theme. All right, so I'm going to play the green theme. Hold up your green card. Good. All right. So now we're going to play the opening. We're going to play the opening, and we're going to play it scaled back. And I want you to hold up that card every time you hear that theme. All right? Understand? Any questions about the rules? Cool. And I can see. I know who's holding and who's not
Hold up
holding
your
it.
card every time you hear the theme.
That's just what you just played.
Yes.
Yes. All right, ready? All right. So you can see, it's literally the same thing over and over and over again. All right, so when you're writing on a timeline, when you got a budget, when you got to write an hour of music every week, how do you get away with it? You take simple ideas, you repeat. Yeah, you repeat, that's all you do. You duplicate and transpose. All right, now we're going to play it all. We're going to play it with all the notes in there, and you're going to hold up that card every time you hear it. And see if you can hear this in a different way this time. Ready? So do you guys hear it differently now? Yeah, you can see what's going on there. So that's the complexity of Bach. If you actually know what's going on there, you can trace it through the fabric of the counterpoint. So we dissolve this down into 2 more themes. We're gonna go through that. Really, there's like 10 different colors we could talk about here, but we're not gonna do that. So the next theme is, what color do we have? We got orange. I see an orange there, right? Let's say that this is gonna be the orange theme. So this is a violin concerto. Back then, the way they showed off, their bows were about that long compared to ours, where my finger is, right? So when we do string crossings today, it's very easy. It's very easy to do this with the modern bow. But back then, they had about less. There was a lot more work. It's a lot harder to do that with those bows. So the way they used to show off with this concerto is big string crossing. Right? You can see how much I'm working to do that. Back then that was like, oh my god, how are they doing that? You know, today it's really easy. So this is going to be the orange theme, right? Hold up your orange card if you hear this. This is a test run. So hold up your orange card. There you go. Alright, you guys understand the rule of the game? Alright, we're going to go from A, and hold up the orange card every time you hear that theme. And we love this because the teams start getting competitive. So let's see if you can beat the green team. Cool, nicely done. You're doing a great job. Now, all right, so that is the orange thing. Now we have one more. Has anybody here listened to the Double One Down Georgia?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have that tonight. we will have that next. We will have that in the spring because we got so many requests for that. But we will have the double. So their version of the Double One Down Georgia was this. You can see how it's kind of fiddly and stuff, and so we're gonna have like a little fiddle battle. You're gonna hear that I'm gonna have it, and then she's gonna try and do it better than me, and then I'm gonna try and do it better than her, and it's gonna go back and forth. So what's the last color we don't have?
Yellow.
Yellow. All right. So hold up. This is a test run. Hold up the yellow card. All right. Every time you hear that, you're gonna hold up that card. Now there is a bonus in this one section. See if you can catch the bonus. All right. Ready? See. So, we only have 3 themes that we need to worry about now. So we're going to go ahead and play through this entire movement. I want you guys to see how the colors form a pattern. How he's going to do green, 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 yellow, orange, green, 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 yellow, yellow. And that is box art. When you're writing music on the fly, when you're on a budget, that's what you have to do. But it also tends to make for great music. That's why he's considered by many the greatest composer of all time. All right. Ready? Does anybody want to show off?
Sure, I'll show
He
up.
told me that he wanted both cards. He wanted all 3 cards. All right.
Yeah, they told us green.
Yeah. All right. Jose came up to me earlier and he said, I want all 3 cards for this game. So we're going to see how he does. All right. Ready? Do we need a review? By the way, this is the green theme. Here's the green theme. So hold up your green card. Okay, green team's doing good. All right. Now here is the orange theme. Good, good. And then the yellow theme. Ready? Good, you guys are good to go. Ready? You guys did a wonderful job with that.
That's a neat way of doing it.
Huh?
That's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah. So that is, isn't it much more enjoyable to listen to the complexity of Bach when you can trace the different kind of rhetorical figures going through it? Yeah, that is his art. So we're going to go ahead and perform the other two movements for you guys. We're not going to play a game with that. We could. So try to listen for the imitations, but otherwise just enjoy the music. And yeah, great job. You guys are a great audience. Ready? the second half of our program. The second half is very different from the first half in that both composers are living. One of them, he was here last night. Unfortunately, he's abroad in Kentucky right now for a concert. His name is David Conti. He is chair of the composition department at San Francisco Conservatory of Music. He wrote this song cycle based off Christina Rossetti's songs. It's a fantastic song cycle. And the second cycle is by me. I wrote the song. I'm also a composer. And the cool thing about this is that David is my teacher. So that's the connection between the second half. So a few things about, well, just some house cleaning things. We are a new organization. This is our 7th or 8th concert in like 4 months, something about. Things just exploded very quickly. If you enjoyed this concert a lot, we want to bring more of it to you. Of course, it does cost things. So we are fiscally sponsored, meaning that you can go on our website and you can make donations, which are tax deductible if you want to get that in before December 31st, which is that deadline. If you guys want to get a tax deduction, that's one thing to consider. There's different tiers. So if you think I write nice music and I play pretty violin, and you donate enough money, I'll write a violin duet for you. It'll be in your dedication. That's pretty cool. It's like collecting art. If you think about all the great people back then, Esterhazy, Frederick the Great, they all commissioned music. So that could be your way of having a dynamic piece of art in your honor. And then there was that. Oh, and then another great way that you can help us is that if you have a home or a venue or a location or event that you think would make for a beautiful, intimate, unique setting like this, please consider hosting. Kudos if you also have a piano. That's a big boost. But if you feel like you have a venue or an area where you'd like to host that you think is a place that would be very interesting for people to visit, please consider hosting. All right, so I would like to introduce Winnie Neer and Oliver Moore, and they're going to talk a little bit about this piece that David wrote.
Good evening. So as Erickson said, Oliver and I will be beginning the second half with a song cycle by David Conti. It's set to 3 poems of Christina Rossetti. The first one is called Rest, and it describes the soul's journey from physical death to paradise. And I also should mention that the poet is a very devout Anglo-Catholic, so much of that will shine through in all of the poetry that you'll be hearing. And then the second song is called Echo. It describes an attempt to regain a lost love in dreams. And lastly, a hope carol describes the vigil of a soul called to a vision of paradise and the second coming of Christ. Enjoy. Thank you.
Great. Isn't that fantastic writing and singing? Yeah, it's amazing. We're so lucky and fortunate to have the musicians that we have here. Okay, so for this next piece, I wrote it. It's called God's World. It's by a poet. It's a setting of poems by a poet named Edna St. Vincent Millay, sorry. So I did my undergrad in New York, and she actually lived on the same block as me in Greenwich Village. She died around 1950, and she was just this free spirit. People used to find her irritating because she'd run through Greenwich Village just singing and everything, just being a free spirit at that time. And they said, "What is she doing?" When she was young, she loved to play piano. She was a very good pianist. She used to write her own songs. She went on to win the Pulitzer for poetry, and she was just a great free spirit. And I was commissioned by SSCN to write this piece, The Cycle. And I was working with my vocalist at the time, and I said, well, the only requirements I have for the poetry is that it deals with some kind of natural theme, something about the natural splendor of the world that we live in, because I think that's very important to be talking about right now. And I thought, well, this is the best way to do it. It's not on the nose in terms of how we should be appreciating nature more these days. And pretty much The Cycle talks about a girl who is just she's almost ripped apart by the beauty of nature. She says, my soul is all but out of me. And so when the cycle starts, it starts with almost like a calamity or a gambit. She talks about how the rocks are ripped open, and she calls upon the mists and everything, the trees of the forest. You can hear that with this opening chord. Right. And now she's going to call the smoke up. And then she goes, and then she says, I'm so enraptured by the love of this and everything. And she's just going to be swirling with mist and everything. And there's a lot of text painting in this. For example, the last one is called Mariposa. That means butterfly for those of you who don't speak Spanish. And that starts out with a little butterfly over it. It's a very hard piano part, so it's like a butterfly with a vengeance on fire, and it's going towards oblivion. Both parts are incredibly difficult for this. They're very virtuosic. It's a very virtuosic vocal part. It's a very virtuosic piano part. So you guys are in for a real treat because you have some of the best performers in the area to be pulling this off. So enjoy and have a good time. And it's my pleasure to invite Wendy back up to the stage.
I
working really hard on that one. So that is the last piece, but we do want to say a few words before we go. So none of this would have been possible without the generosity of our host tonight, which was George. Through George's hard work and effort, a lot of this was able to come through. He put us in touch with many of you. This place in this room is very special. It's historic. It's a very special place. It's shrouded in mystery and intrigue. I used to sit right there and wonder, like, what is the CIA doing here? And what's going on here? And a lot of people don't know what goes on, but really, what's going on is that there's somebody who's very nice and very lovely who's opening his home to be a place of culture and camaraderie and friendship. There's not many opportunities like this present across the landscape today, and they do happen in rare places throughout history. When we talk about great geniuses like Mendelssohn, Chopin, and Liszt, and Schumann all living together in Paris and writing the great music they did, most of the settings of which they performed in and wrote their music for was exactly what we're doing here. Not the concert hall, it wasn't for Carnegie Hall or anything like that. It was often under the patronage of somebody like George. And so it is through these kinds of things, not the grand kind of things that we think about with art, but through these very intimate settings in which great things happen and grow out of and are left for all posterity. So with that, George told us that he is very fond of one piece by Strauss called Morgan. And so we decided to program this as an encore dedicated in George's honor. George said that he loves this piece because when he goes to Sweden, he likes to sit there in quietness and watch the landscape in the morning as the sun rises. Morgan means tomorrow, right? Or does it mean morning or tomorrow? It means tomorrow. The piece was written by Strauss as a set of pieces for his wife on their wedding day as performed. So this is dedicated to George, our generous host, and we're also thankful for him. Thank you for being here tonight.
thank you so much for joining us for this intimate house concert. We hope you enjoyed it. It's my gift to you. Happy holidays. Once again, Bonnie Spindler, the Victorian Specialist, here on Alamo Square for the American Dream.